Okay, 7E. This one I'm gonna break down in two parts today, Monday, Tuesday, and then again Thursday, Friday, because unlike denominators is much more complicated than same denominators. Okay, so first things first, if you are on that quiz, here are your codes. For your codes, this is if you are completely done with extra math. If you're not done with extra math, then work on these first. Work on extra math first, and then you can work on this. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then don't worry about it. Okay, first thing, the do now, just a review from last class. When you add things with unlike denominators, they stay exactly the same. X minus 2, our denominator should be x minus 2. And on the top, only the second item changes, negative 4x, and then the first item stays the same, 3x plus 2, combine your like terms, 3 minus 4 is negative 1, x plus 2 over x minus 2. Factor out our negative 1 so we can change all these signs inside here, and we'll get x minus 2 over x minus 2. Factor out negative 1, these cancel out, final answer. Okay, the second item, again, like terms in the denominators, make it a lot easier. 9x cubed plus 27x squared. That's our denominator. That repeats. Up top, distribute this negative there and negative there. Negative x and negative 6. 5x and negative x make 4x. Negative 4 and negative 6 make negative 10. GCF of each group, top one has a 2x minus 5. The denominator is going to have a 3x squared, 9x squared, and we'll have x plus 3. None of which cancel, so we just leave it like this. Or if you'd like to put it back together, it'll look like that. Okay, teacher do number 1. Our first goal is to identify a common denominator. So we need to find a common denominator. 1, find a common denominator. Okay, this is the same idea as you would have with fractions. Okay, so when I add these two numbers together, the denominators are the same like they were in the last unit. So, let's do this basic. If you had fractions, all I know is that if I had 8 on this side and a 2 on this side, I'm going to multiply this number by a 1. People say 1, and you will usually tell me I'm going to multiply by 4 over 4. That is a 1, it's not a 4. Okay, I'm going to multiply 4a over 4a so we can make the denominators the same. Okay, so let's multiply the tops. 5 times 4, 20a, and denominator 8 times 4, 2 times 4 is 8a squared. We'll add those two together. Now they have like denominators. This is what we wanted the whole time. 8a squared, 8a squared. Our denominators should now be the same. Okay, so that is the most important part. I started off with monomials. Okay, they work just like numbers. You just have to know your exponent rules. 3 plus 20a. There you go. Now again, these had to be the same. This is what we learned today. This is the new stuff right here. Finding this number. Okay, we'll expand on this idea in the next few questions. Okay, now in 4n here and n, these two items, they need to be the same in order for us to add. Okay, so in order to do this, sometimes like in this last question, I knew I needed a 4 to make an 8, an a to make an a squared. Okay, so we'll do the same process here. I need the same denominators, so I'm going to multiply this by a 1. I need to multiply by a 1. That's the most important thing. A lot of people say, oh, you're multiplying by 4. No, you're multiplying 4 over 4, which is a 1. Now the reason why this is a little bit more difficult is I had to distribute. across the top. Denominators, these two become 4n, which matches this one. And the top 4 times n is 4n plus 12, and this side here stays the same. I only need to change one item. Okay, now we can add like we did in the last class. Now everything can stay the same on the denominators. The numerators, we're going to combine items that are the same. So 4n plus 8n is 12n. 12 plus negative 4 is 8, and our denominator is 4n. So this should be a positive 8. We'll add the two items together, or we'll factor or reduce. This is the same as 3n plus 2. On the bottom, 4 times n. These cross out. Final answer, 3n plus 2 over n. Okay, now this one is tricky. This last item, we only had to multiply by one side by an item. I only had to multiply this side by a 4 over 4. Here, remember this y plus 2 represents one number. I can't multiply just by a 6 or a negative 4 or whatever it is to get a 6 or a 3. I have to multiply by the entire number. Now this side, the right side, has a y minus 6. What it doesn't have is a y plus 2. So this one will get a y plus 2 over y plus 2. Now the left side of the equation has a y plus 2. It doesn't have the blue y minus 6. So I'm going to give it a y minus 6. Oops, y minus 6. Now everybody is happy. The denominators should be the same. So for both of them, they'll have denominators of y minus 6. So they're a different color. Y minus 6 and y plus 2. Okay. And that's the left side, and the right side will be the same. We'll have a plus in between. And then we're going to have to multiply here. Distribute 5y and distribute negative 30. Here we're going to distribute on this side 2, y times 1, 1y, and 1 times 2 plus 2. Combine our like terms. 1 and 5 make 6. Y, negative 30, and positive 2 make negative 28. Denominators are the same, these two. Okay, and I think I could take out a 6 from both of them. No, I could take out a 2. Yeah, I could take out a 2, but I don't think anything's going to match, so I guess it doesn't matter. But I'll do it anyway just to check. I could take out a 2, and I'll get 3y minus 14, and these two will duplicate. And that's your final answer. Because nothing will cancel. Alright, now yours is the same thing. You're going to cross multiply in order to get a common denominator. So this one is a b minus 4, and this one doesn't have one, so it'll get a b minus 4. Again, that makes a 1. Okay. On this side, we've got a b minus 1, so we'll get a b minus 1. We'll multiply. Okay, so I multiplied the first one. I got b squared minus 4b. Here I'll have 2b minus 2. And then we'll combine everything. Our denominators, again, that's the whole goal. The denominators to be exactly the same all the way throughout. On top we'll have b squared, because that's the only b squared there is. Negative 4b and positive 2 make negative 2b and then minus 2. Now here you're going to use the x box. Okay, so I tried to use the x box, didn't work. Nothing worked out well. These numbers didn't work. So I guess it's unfactorable, and there's our answer. Okay, this one's the hardest one of the three. The first one, the first two questions, so these first two questions here, I only had to multiply one side. One side. Here I had to multiply by both sides, left and right. Left and right. But I didn't have to, it wasn't difficult to decide. This one's going to be the hardest of the two. Now, this x plus 5 here, it's inside here. It's inside there somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to factor it out, and I'll show you what I'm going to get out of it. And I only need to multiply one side. So this changes a little bit of what's going on. Okay, so in the denominator on the left, I found the difference of squares. I factored them out. I have two parts. I have the red x minus 5 and the blue x plus 5. This one is also an x plus 5. Okay, now it looks kind of like our first couple questions where I only need to multiply one side. This is the missing factor. So just like here, I have minus 5 and x plus 5. This one only needs a red. That way it's going to have a red and a blue. So x minus 5 over x minus 5, which makes a giant 1. I'll multiply everything and I'll connect everything. Okay, so what I did is I multiplied this x minus 5 on both sides. My denominators were exactly the same. So in the end, when I add them together, I get the same thing. I'll combine all my like terms across the top. X times x, x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. So x squared, that's this one. Then I have my 5x and 3x. Well, that's negative 5x. So negative 2x. That's this one. And this one. And then 15. Positive 15. Now, I could try the Xbox, but for 15 and then negative 2, actually nothing's going to work. These numbers don't exist. If I could, I would factor and then cancel, but I can't. Okay, last one, do the same thing. Not a difference of squares for this one, but this one's going to be the Xbox method. So, see what we... So I factored out this denominator and I got x minus 2 and x minus 2. Now, these are exactly the same, but this has two of them, so this one's going to need one more, an extra one. That way they both have 2 x minus 2's. Okay, so instead of the rest of the equation, this one has two x minus 2's as denominators. This one had 1, so I gave it 1 more by multiplying it by 1. X minus 3 on top, that's fine. And here, I actually have to make an x box to distribute, or just do distributive multiplication. We get x squared minus 2x, and then I'll distribute to the inside, positive 2x, and then minus 4. These two, they go away because they're opposites. So we have x squared and minus 4. So combine our like terms, x squared, x, and then negative 4 and negative 3 make negative 7. This doesn't factor because there are no factors of 7 because it's prime. There you go. And if you're curious about how I did this one, that is basically x box, x minus 2, x plus 2, x squared, negative x, 2x, and positive 2x and negative 4. So x cross out, so x squared and negative 4. Okay, exit slip. Half of you guys turned it in. That's it. And I guarantee you half of you guys will be failing before the next unit test. And this is a harder test. So answer the questions, turn in your exit slip. That way you have an idea of how you'll be doing. You won't freak out. Okay, practice on the back and rev prep. Those should all be done before you leave. 2 easy items. Don't waste your time. Turn in your exit slip and do your practice on the back.